Hey everyone, so welcome back to the lab. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to create F# projects via the command line. So first I'm going to go over some prerequisites that we're going to need to follow along in this tutorial, and then I'm going to show you how to create two different kinds of applications with F#. So the first one is going to be a console application, which is basically the simplest project that we can create. And the second one is going to be the web application, which is probably where most of your development in F# for web backends is going to happen. So for prerequisites, really the only thing that we need is the .NET SDK. And what this is going to do is give us all the tools we need to create, build, and run any of our applications that are built with .NET, which is what F# runs on by default. We also get the .NET command line tool with it, which gives us access to all of these utilities, and we're going to be using this throughout the tutorial, so you're going to need to download that. If you don't have it, it just takes a few minutes, so go to this link here, and I'll also have the link in the description to download and install. Okay, so let's start with the console application. So basically a console app is going to be like the simplest, most easy to understand project template that we can kind of get started with. It's basically F#'s version of just like a Python script where you can kind of just run it and it runs top to bottom. That's the closest we're going to get here. So it's really good for simple scripts, and it's really good for running anything from the console if that's what you need to do. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and open up my VS Code editor to kind of show you that the commands work and how it kind of will look like inside of your editor or directory. Okay, so here on the left side of the screen, I've just got an empty directory opened up with VS Code, and I'm just going to copy and paste this creation command here into the console, and we'll see that .NET is going to try to create this project. And so what we see output is two main files. So the first is the fsproj file, which will default to having the same name as the directory that you created it in. And this is basically just going to give us all the metadata about what source files to include, what dependencies we need to download, what kind of framework we're going to run on, that basically tells .NET, how do we build this? How do we actually build and run this thing? Now, what are we actually going to run? So that's where this program.fs comes in. This is basically our main file, our main function, and it'll just kind of run from top to bottom. And the only thing that this does is it's going to print to console hello from F#. Okay, so how do we actually run this? Well, we can just use the .NET run command, and theoretically this will run this file here, and it does. So here we see hello from F# printed to console, and that's kind of what came from this program.fs. Okay, so now you have the capability to create a console application and also run it, so you can put whatever scripts you want in there and run it with the .NET run command. If you want to copy and paste these commands, I do have them on my website, as well as all the source code that I'm kind of showing you now, and I'll have that linked in the description. And also, if for some reason you want this in a repo format, I do have this on GitHub at this link. Finally, if you're trying to get fancy for some reason and you want to run this in Docker containers, I do have a video on this that you can check out, which shows you how to run a console app via Docker. Okay, so the console app is basically the easiest project that we can create. And now let's move on to a web application, which is probably going to be where most of your development's happening in F#. So creating this with .NET is going to basically give us the base skeleton for web APIs, and basically anything that you do that needs to interact with web should probably use this kind of base. Okay, so we're going to do the same kind of thing here. Basically on the left side I just have an empty VS Code directory open, and we're just going to copy this command here and we're going to run it. So here .NET's created some resources for us, and the basics are basically the same. So we still have this fsproj file that only includes this one file here. And the only thing that's different is our program.fs is going to look just a bit different. And so basically all this doing is saying, here's the main file, here's the entry point for this app, and I'm going to configure my web server here, my ASP.NET web server. And I'm basically just going to set up or configure one endpoint. So if you come to the root endpoint here, I'm going to return hello world, and then we're actually going to run the app so we can hit it. Now running the server is going to be the exact same, so we just kind of type .NET run here. And we'll see that it builds for a while, and then it should output some things that we'll need. So first it's going to tell us where it's listening. So how can we actually talk to this web server via the web? And then it's going to tell us like the hosting environment, and then where's it actually pulling the content from. So this is useful for us. Here's the HTTPS. If we're doing local, we probably don't want to do HTTPS. Just add some extra overhead. So let's just click and open this, and we see that it's returning hello world, which is what we configured here at the root domain. Okay, so that should get you started with the basics of starting a web application project with F#. Now, if you're actually building a real project for web using F#, you're probably going to want to use some extra frameworks. The reason is that .NET is largely built for C#, which is not really functional. And so integrating F# code, especially idiomatic F# code that uses a lot of functional paradigms with this .NET stuff is not going to be super pretty or allow you to get a lot of the benefits of it. And so if you're actually building a project, you're probably going to want to use some extra frameworks that are going to allow you to interact with .NET with more of a functional approach. So there's a lot of these. There's a lot of choices to be made. So if you want a list of like the officially endorsed frameworks from the F# Foundation, you can check them out at fsharp.org. Again, links will be in the description. But if you don't want to do that, if you just want to get set up with something that works, has seen defaults, and will just get you off the ground with a production-ready server, I do have a full-stack F# project boilerplate called Cloudseed. So check that out if you want to save yourself some time. So that should get you started with any kind of application that you're trying to start with F#. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.